I stood at the piano in the corner of my sister's lavish wedding reception, surrounded by 300 guests who barely noticed me. My mother had insisted I play background music during dinner, positioning the piano behind the flower arrangements where no one could see me. My sister, the golden child, glowed in her designer gown at the head table while our mother whispered something to a guest and pointed at me with a smirk. My hands trembled over the keys. They had no idea what was coming. I pressed down on the first keys, starting the classical piece my mother had assigned me that morning. It was a simple, forgettable arrangement of a Mozart sonata. The kind of music that was meant to disappear into the background chatter of clinking silverware and polite conversation. My fingers moved mechanically across the ivory keys, playing notes I could perform in my sleep. The grand ballroom of the Riverside Country Club stretched out before me, though from my corner position behind the towering arrangements of white roses and orchids, I could barely see the guests. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, casting warm light across tables draped in cream silk. Waiters glided between tables carrying trays of filet mignon and Chilean sea bass. Nobody looked my way. I had been playing piano since I was 7 years old. For 11 years, it had been my refuge, my passion, the one thing that made me feel alive. When I was 16, I earned a scholarship to the Berkshire Conservatory of Music, one of the most prestigious music schools in New England. For 2 glorious years, I lived and breathed music. I studied under masters, practiced 8 hours a day, composed my own pieces. My instructors said I had a rare gift, that I could have a real career as a concert pianist. Then my mother pulled me out. She said it was a waste of money, even though the scholarship covered tuition. She said I needed to be realistic, that art was a hobby, not a future. She said I was being selfish, pursuing something so impractical when I should focus on a real career. I was 18, legally an adult, but financially dependent. I had no choice but to leave. My sister Brittany never had those problems. She was always the golden child, the one who could do no wrong in our mother's eyes. Brittany had been a cheerleader in high school, sorority president at State University, and now she was marrying Derek Whitmore, an investment banker whose family owned half the commercial real estate in our city. My mother had been planning this wedding for a year, spending over $80,000 to make sure it was perfect, and I was background music. That morning, my mother Diane had cornered me in the bridal suite while Brittany was getting her hair done. She handed me a folder of sheet music with a tight smile. "Just play something boring," she said. "You are background music. Do not embarrass us by trying to show off. Stay in your corner, play your little songs, and do not draw attention to yourself. This is Brittany's day, not yours." I had nodded, swallowing the familiar bitter taste of diminishment. Now, as I played that forgettable Mozart arrangement, I watched my mother from the corner of my eye. She sat at the head table next to Brittany, wearing a champagne-colored mother of the bride gown that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She leaned over and whispered something to Brittany, and they both glanced my way, sharing a laugh. My sister's eyes sparkled with satisfaction. My mother's smile was sharp and triumphant. They were enjoying this, enjoying my humiliation. A bridesmaid in a flowing lavender dress walked past my piano, her attention on her phone. She bumped the edge of the piano bench, jostling my folder of sheet music. Several pages fluttered to the floor. I kept playing with my right hand while reaching down with my left to gather them. That is when I saw it. Underneath the Mozart arrangements was a piece I had forgotten I brought. It was my own original composition, one I had written during my final semester at the conservatory. I had titled it Breaking Silence. I had poured everything into that piece, every frustration, every suppressed emotion, every unspoken truth about my family. It was technically complex, emotionally raw, and achingly beautiful. My instructor had called it a masterpiece. I stared at the pages in my hand. My mother's voice echoed in my mind. Background music. Do not embarrass us. Stay in your corner. Something inside me cracked. My fingers continued the Mozart piece, but my eyes were on my own composition. I made a decision in that moment that would change everything. As I reached the end of the sonata's second movement, I did not pause. I did not announce anything. I simply transitioned, my fingers moving into the opening chords of Breaking Silence. The change was immediate. Where the Mozart had been pleasant and unobtrusive, my composition was powerful. The opening progression was haunting. A minor key melody, that seemed to reach into the chest and squeeze. My hands moved across the keys with practiced precision, playing the piece I had rehearsed hundreds of times, the piece that had earned me the highest marks in my composition class. Within 30 seconds, I noticed the first change. A woman at a nearby table stopped mid-sentence, her fork suspended halfway to her mouth. Her companion turned toward the piano, head tilted, listening. The sound carried through the ballroom, cutting through the ambient noise like a blade through silk. More heads turned. Conversations faltered and died. The waiters slowed their pace, distracted by the music filling the room. I played with my eyes closed, letting muscle memory guide my fingers while I poured years of pain and suppression into every note. The melody swelled and fell, building to crescendos that made the crystal chandeliers seem to vibrate, then dropping to whispers that forced people to hold their breath to hear. I played the anger of being told I was not good enough. I played the grief of losing my education, my dream. I played the loneliness of being the overlooked daughter, the disappointment, the one who did not quite fit the family image. I played truth that I had never been allowed to speak aloud. The ballroom fell completely silent except for my playing. 300 people had stopped eating, stopped talking, stopped moving. They listened. I opened my eyes as I moved into the final movement, the part where the composition shifted from darkness into something that resembled hope. That is when I saw my mother's face. Her smile had vanished. Her mouth was slightly open, her eyes wide with shock and something that looked like fear. She stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. My sister Brittany looked furious, her perfect wedding day smile replaced by a tight-lipped glare. I finished the piece with a soft, lingering final chord that seemed to hang in the air for an eternal moment. Then silence. Complete, absolute silence. Then the room erupted in applause. People were standing. Some had tears streaming down their faces. The applause was thunderous, echoing off the high ceilings of the ballroom. Guests at the back tables were craning their necks to see who had been playing. I sat frozen at the piano bench, my hands still resting on the keys, stunned by the response. An older gentleman in an expensive charcoal suit made his way through the crowd toward my corner. He was distinguished-looking, probably in his early 60s. With silver hair and an air of authority, he approached the piano with purpose, and the crowd parted to let him through. "Excuse me," he said, his voice warm but carrying weight. "That was extraordinary. Truly extraordinary. Where did you study? Why have I never heard of you?" "I am Angel," I managed to say, my voice shaky. "I studied at Berkshire Conservatory for 2 years, but I had to leave." "Berkshire?" He looked impressed. "I am Raymond Hart. I produce classical recordings and manage several concert pianists." "That piece you just played, did you compose it?" "Yes," I said. "I wrote it during my final semester at the conservatory." His eyes lit up. "It is remarkable. The technical complexity alone is impressive, but the emotional depth is what truly sets it apart. You have genuine talent. We should talk about your career options. I would love to hear more of your work." My heart was pounding. Raymond Hart. I knew that name. He had produced albums for some of the most respected classical musicians in the country. He discovered new talent and launched careers. This was the kind of opportunity that could change everything. Before I could respond, my mother appeared at my side. "Oh, Mr. Hart," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "How lovely of you to compliment Angel. She dabbles in piano, but she never took it seriously. She dropped out of school because she could not handle the pressure. This is just a hobby for her, really." I turned to stare at my mother in disbelief. "That is not what happened," I started to say. Her hand clamped down on my shoulder, her fingers digging in hard enough to hurt. It was a warning, a threat, all delivered with a smile on her face. "Angel has always been a bit sensitive," my mother continued, speaking to Raymond as if I was not there. "She tends to exaggerate her abilities. We are very proud that she plays for fun, but she is not really professional material, you understand." Raymond looked between us, his expression shifting from interest to uncertainty. "I see," he said slowly. "Well, if you ever decide to pursue music more seriously, please reach out." He pulled a business card from his jacket pocket and held it out to me. I reached for it, but my mother was faster. She plucked it from his fingers with a laugh. "Oh, I will make sure she gets this," she said. "Thank you so much for your kind words." Raymond gave me one last look, disappointed and confused, before nodding politely and walking away. I watched him go, feeling like I had just lost the most important opportunity of my life. The moment he was out of earshot, my mother's pleasant expression evaporated. Her grip on my shoulder tightened. "What were you thinking?" she hissed in my ear. "I played a piece I wrote," I said. "That is all. You were supposed to play background music. You were supposed to be invisible. Instead, you made a spectacle of yourself." "People liked it," I said weakly. "I do not care if they liked it. This is Brittany's wedding, not your concert debut." My sister materialized on my other side, her face flushed with anger beneath her professional makeup. She had abandoned her new husband at the head table to storm over to us. "You just had to do it, did you not?" Brittany snapped. "You just had to steal attention on my wedding day. I knew you were jealous, but I did not think you would actually sabotage my reception." "I was not trying to sabotage anything," I protested. "Mom told me to play piano. I played piano." "You were supposed to play boring music that people would ignore," Brittany said. "Instead, you played some dramatic piece that made everyone stop and stare at you. Do you know how embarrassing that was for me? People were crying, Angel, at my wedding. Because of your depressing music." "It was not depressing," I said. "It was emotional. There is a difference." "I do not care about the difference," Brittany shot back. "I care that you ruined my special day by making it about yourself." Guests were starting to notice our argument. People were glancing our way, whispering. My mother noticed too. Her public relations instincts kicked in immediately. She turned to the nearest table of guests with a bright smile. "My sister just told me she is feeling sick and needs to leave," she announced loudly. "Thank you all for understanding. The poor thing has been under so much stress lately." "I am not sick," I said, but my mother already had my arm in an iron grip. "Come along, dear," she said, her voice saccharine for the benefit of onlookers but her fingers bruising my arm. "Let us get you somewhere quiet." She practically dragged me out of the ballroom, Brittany following close behind. We went down a corridor and into a small private room the venue used for coat storage. My mother shut the door firmly behind us. The mask dropped completely. Her face was twisted with rage. "You will not humiliate this family," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "I have worked too hard to build our reputation in this community. Your sister married into one of the most prominent families in the city. This was supposed to be a perfect day." "It was just a song," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It was a scene," my mother corrected. "You drew attention to yourself when you were specifically told not to. You embarrassed me in front of my friends and business associates. You upset your sister on the most important day of her life." "I am sorry," I said, though I was not sure I meant it. "Sorry is not good enough," my mother said. "You are going to go back out there and apologize to your sister in front of the bridal party for causing a scene. Then you are going to leave quietly without making any more fuss." I nodded, exhausted and wanting this confrontation to end. "Actually," Brittany said, her voice cold, "I do not want her apology. I just want her gone. I do not want to look at her for the rest of the night." "Fine," my mother said. "Angel, you will leave now. Do not say goodbye to anyone. Just collect your things and go." "I can do that," I said quietly. "One more thing," my mother added, her eyes glittering. "I co-signed your lease on that apartment of yours, remember? The landlord and I have had some conversations about your behavior lately, about how you have been unstable and concerning. I think it is best if that lease is terminated. You have until the end of the month to vacate." The words hit me like a physical blow. "You are evicting me?" "I am protecting our family," my mother said. "You clearly need help, Angel. Perhaps losing your apartment will motivate you to get your life together and stop embarrassing us." I stared at her, unable to process what was happening. She was going to make me homeless because I played a piano piece, because I dared to be noticed. "Now leave," Brittany said. "Get out of my wedding." I left. I walked out of that room, down the corridor, and out of the country club. I got in my old Honda Civic and drove home with tears streaming down my face. My phone buzzed with texts, but I ignored them all. I had no idea that the nightmare was just beginning. 3 days passed. 3 days of silence from my family, which I initially welcomed. I stayed in my small one-bedroom apartment, trying to process what had happened at the wedding. I taught my regular piano lessons at the Harmony Music School where I worked part-time, earning barely enough to cover rent and groceries. I practiced my compositions, trying to recapture the feeling of playing in that ballroom before everything fell apart. On the 4th day, my phone exploded with messages. It started with my Aunt Clara, my mother's younger sister. The text was brief and cold. Very disappointed in your behavior at Brittany's wedding. You owe your sister an apology. Then my Uncle Frank. Heard about what happened. That was really inappropriate, Angel. Family should come first. My cousin Jessica, who I had always been close with. Can't believe you got drunk and made a scene at the wedding. That's so unlike you. Are you okay? Drunk? I had not had a single drink at that wedding. More texts came flooding in. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even family friends I barely knew. All of them expressing disappointment, concern, or outright anger. All of them referencing behavior I did not recognize. According to their messages, I had been intoxicated, played inappropriate music that upset guests, caused a scene, and generally acted unstable and unhinged. I called my cousin Jessica immediately. We had grown up together, been close our whole lives. She would believe me. Jess, I said when she answered. I do not know what you heard, but I was not drunk at the wedding. I did not do any of the things people are saying. There was a long pause. Angel, I saw the video, she said carefully. You looked really out of it. Your mom is worried about you. We all are. Maybe you should talk to someone. Get some professional help. What video? I asked, my stomach dropping. The one your mom posted in the family group chat. You are swaying at the piano, and your eyes are unfocused. It looks bad, Angel. Can you send it to me? I am not in that group chat anymore. You were removed? Jessica sounded surprised. Okay, that is weird. Hold on, I will send it to you. A moment later, a video appeared on my phone. I watched it with growing horror. It was footage from the wedding, showing me at the piano. But it had been edited. The video was slowed down at certain points to make my movements look sluggish. The camera angle made it seem like I was slumped over the keys. My eyes looked unfocused, because the video quality had been deliberately degraded. The audio was muted, so viewers could not hear the beautiful music I had been playing. Instead, text overlaid the video. So sad to see her like this. She refused help, praying for my daughter. It was a complete fabrication, a carefully constructed lie. Jessica, this video is edited, I said urgently. It has been manipulated to make me look bad. I was not drunk. I was playing a piano piece. That is all. Another long pause. Angel, why would your mom edit a video to make you look bad? That does not make sense. Because she is angry, I drew attention away from Brittany, I said. Because I played my own composition instead of the boring background music she told me to play. That sounds kind of paranoid, Jessica said gently. I think you might be going through something. You should really talk to a therapist. I realized I was not going to convince her. She had known my mother her whole life. She had no reason to think Diane would lie like this. I am fine, I said. I have to go. I hung up and checked the family group chat I had been removed from. My mother had been busy. She had sent multiple messages over the past 3 days, constructing an elaborate narrative. Angel has been struggling with mental health issues since leaving the conservatory. She has been unstable, and we are very concerned. The wedding incident was a cry for help. We are trying to get her professional support, but she is refusing. Please keep her in your prayers. She had poisoned the entire extended family against me. Every aunt, uncle, and cousin now believed I was having a mental breakdown. My phone rang. It was my landlord, Mr. Patterson. Miss Angel, he said, his voice uncomfortable. I need to speak with you about your lease. My stomach tightened. What about it? I received a call from your mother. She expressed some concerns about your current state of mind. She mentioned that you have been exhibiting concerning behavior. As your co-signer, she has the right to terminate the lease agreement. I am going to have to give you a 30-day notice to vacate the premises. Mr. Patterson, I have lived here for 3 years. I have never been late on rent. I have never caused any problems. My mother is lying because she is angry with me. I understand this is difficult, he said. But I cannot take the risk. Your mother was quite convincing. She sent me documentation of your mental health history. I do not have a mental health history, I said, my voice rising. What documentation? I am not at liberty to discuss the specifics. You have 30 days. I am sorry. He hung up. I sat on my couch, staring at my phone in disbelief. My mother had created false documentation. She had committed fraud to get me evicted. I spent the next 2 days trying to fight back. I called every family member individually, trying to explain the truth. Most would not even listen. Those who did clearly did not believe me. My mother's narrative was too well constructed, too convincing. Diane was a respected member of the community, active in charity work, known for her generous donations to local causes. Why would she lie about her own daughter? I tried to reach out to Raymond Hart, the producer who had been so interested in my playing. I had memorized the phone number on his business card before my mother had taken it. I called his office, hoping to explain what had happened, hoping he might still be interested in hearing more of my work. His assistant answered. Mr. Hart's office. How may I help you? This is Angel, I said. I met Mr. Hart at a wedding reception a few days ago. I was the pianist who played an original composition. He gave me his card and said to call. Oh yes, the assistant said, her voice turning cold. Mr. Hart has been informed about your situation. He does not work with unstable individuals. Please do not call this number again. Wait, I started to say, but she had already hung up. My mother had gotten to him too. I logged into my email, looking for anything that might help me. That is when I found it. An email my mother had sent to the Berkshire Conservatory, copied to several faculty members I had studied under. The email was dated 2 days after the wedding. Dear Berkshire faculty, I am writing to inform you that my daughter Angel has been spreading untrue and damaging statements about our family and about her time at your institution. She has been struggling with mental health issues for some time and is not currently in a stable condition. If she reaches out to you requesting references or recommendations, I ask that you please decline. She is not in a position to pursue professional opportunities at this time. She has also been making false claims about why she left Berkshire, suggesting that I forced her to withdraw. The truth is that she was struggling academically and emotionally and made the decision to leave on her own. I supported her decision because I was concerned about her well-being. I hope you can understand that this is a difficult family situation. I am only reaching out because I want to protect both Angel and your institution from any unfortunate misunderstandings. Best regards, Diana Morrison. Every professional bridge I had was being systematically burned. My mother was destroying my entire future in music, and she was doing it methodically, efficiently, and with no remorse. I sat alone in my apartment, staring at my piano, and realized I had lost everything. My family had disowned me. My home would be gone in 30 days. My professional reputation was ruined. The one opportunity I had gotten with Raymond Hart was poisoned. For the first time since I was 7 years old, I wondered if I should just give up on music entirely. Maybe my mother had been right all along. Maybe I was not good enough. Maybe I should accept my role as background music and stop trying to be heard. I did not sleep that night. I just sat at my piano, not playing, just staring at the keys. 2 weeks after the wedding, I was still teaching at the Harmony Music School, though my heart was not in it. My students were mostly children, ages 6 to 14, learning basic scales and simple classical pieces. I went through the motions, offering corrections and encouragement, but my mind was elsewhere. I was constantly calculating finances, searching for affordable apartments, trying to figure out how I was going to survive. The eviction notice sat on my kitchen counter. 16 days left. On a Tuesday afternoon, Patricia Chen, the director of Harmony Music School, called me into her office after my last lesson. Patricia was a kind woman in her 50s who had given me this job when I desperately needed it. The school was small, tucked into a strip mall between a dry cleaner and a nail salon, but it served the community well. Angel, sit down, please, she said, her expression troubled. I sat, my stomach already sinking. I knew that tone. I received some emails this week, Patricia said carefully. Anonymous emails. They contained some concerning allegations about your conduct with students. What kind of allegations? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The emails claimed that you have been inappropriate with students. The language was vague, but the implications were serious enough that I have to investigate. You understand? I have to protect the children and the school's reputation. I have never been inappropriate with any student, I said firmly. Never. This is another lie from my mother. Patricia looked uncomfortable. Your mother? I told her everything. The wedding, the eviction, the smear campaign, the edited video, the emails to the conservatory. I laid it all out, desperate for someone, anyone, to believe me. Patricia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sighed deeply. Angel, I believe you, she said. But I still have to investigate. The school's insurance requires it. I am going to have to suspend you pending the outcome. It will probably take 2 weeks. 2 weeks without pay. I could not afford that. Patricia, please, I need this job. I am sorry, she said genuinely. My hands are tied. If the investigation clears you, you will be reinstated with back pay. But right now, I have to follow protocol. I left her office in a daze. I drove home and looked at my bank account on my phone. I had $347. Rent had been paid for the month. But that was the last month in this apartment. I needed first month's rent, last month's rent, and a security deposit for a new place. I needed at least $3,000, and I had $347. I could not afford to eat and save for a new apartment. I certainly could not afford a lawyer to fight the eviction. I was drowning. That night I sat in my car in the parking lot of a grocery store, unable to bring myself to go inside. I could not afford groceries. I had some rice and canned beans at home. That would have to be enough. My phone buzzed. It was my friend Melissa, one of the few people outside my family who I stayed in touch with. She was a nurse, worked long shifts at the county hospital. We had met in a book club 3 years ago and had stayed close. Hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Everything okay? I called her. When she answered, I broke down completely. I told her everything. Sobbing in my car in a grocery store parking lot at 9 o'clock at night. Come stay with me, Melissa said immediately. I have a spare room. You can bring your piano. Stay as long as you need. I cannot impose like that, I said. You are not imposing. You are my friend and you need help. Come over tonight. We will figure this out together. Relief washed over me. At least I would not be homeless. At least I had one person who believed me. I spent the next 2 days moving my essential belongings to Melissa's apartment. She lived in a modest 2-bedroom place on the north side of town. Her spare room was small but sufficient. The hardest part was moving my piano. I hired 2 guys from a moving company to transport it. It cost me $120 I could not afford, but I could not leave my piano behind. Melissa was wonderful. She refused to let me pay rent, though I insisted on buying groceries when I could. She listened to me practice, encouraged me to keep playing, told me things would get better. For 3 days, I felt stable. I had a place to live, a friend who supported me, and my piano. I practiced every day, working on new compositions, trying to heal through music. On the 4th day, my mother showed up. I came home from a job interview at a retail store to find my mother's Mercedes parked outside Melissa's apartment building. My stomach dropped. I considered driving away, but I needed to face her eventually. When I entered the apartment, I found my mother, my sister Brittany, and 2 of my aunts sitting in Melissa's living room. Melissa looked uncomfortable, standing off to the side. What is this? I asked. This is an intervention, my mother said calmly. We are here because we love you, and we are worried about you. Melissa, what did you tell them? I asked. I am sorry, Melissa said, looking genuinely distressed. Your mother called me. She said you were in crisis and needed family support. She said you have been refusing help. She was very convincing, Angel. She showed me medical records. Those are fake, I said. Melissa, everything I told you was true. Sweetheart, sit down, my Aunt Clara said gently. We are not here to attack you. We want to help. I do not need help, I said. I need my family to stop lying about me. This is exactly what we are talking about, my mother said, her voice full of false compassion. You are paranoid. You think everyone is lying. You think I am trying to hurt you. These are signs of a serious mental health crisis. You are trying to hurt me, I said, my voice shaking. You destroyed my reputation. You got me evicted. You got me suspended from my job. You sent fake medical records to people. This is not paranoia. This is reality. Angel, Brittany said, surprisingly gentle. We found a wonderful facility that specializes in mental health care. It is very nice, very supportive. You would go for a 2-week evaluation. They would help you get back on your feet. I am not going to a mental health facility, I said. There is nothing wrong with me. If you do not go voluntarily, my mother said, her voice hardening, we will have to pursue involuntary commitment. We have documentation of your erratic behavior. We have videos, witness statements, everything we need. I stared at her, understanding the trap. If I refused and fought back, I would appear unstable, proving their point. If I went voluntarily, I would be admitting there was something wrong with me, giving them power over my narrative. Melissa looked torn. Angel, maybe it would not be a bad idea, she said hesitantly. Just for an evaluation. If there is really nothing wrong, they will see that, and you will be released. I felt betrayed. Even Melissa, the one person who had believed me, was being swayed by my mother's manipulation. I need to think, I said. You have until tomorrow, my mother said. If you do not agree to voluntary admission by tomorrow afternoon, we will file for involuntary commitment. The choice is yours. They left. Melissa tried to talk to me, but I went to my room and locked the door. I sat on the floor, my back against the wall, and tried to figure out what to do. If I went to the facility, they might keep me for weeks. They might actually find something wrong. Some diagnosis they could twist to support my mother's narrative. I would lose more time, more credibility, more opportunities. If I refused, they would try to commit me involuntarily. I would have to fight it in court. I would need a lawyer I could not afford. And even if I won, the stigma would follow me forever. I was trapped. My mother had constructed the perfect cage. Every move I made would be used against me. I did not sleep that night. I just sat in the dark, staring at my piano, wondering how my life had fallen apart so completely. I left Melissa's apartment the next morning before anyone woke up. I could not stay there, could not face another conversation where I tried to defend my sanity. I packed a bag with essentials, left a note thanking Melissa for her kindness, and walked out. My piano stayed behind. I had nowhere to take it. I slept in my car for 2 nights in a grocery store parking lot. My phone was flooded with messages from my family saying I was refusing help, that I was being irrational. My mother had convinced everyone I was having a breakdown. The narrative was complete and airtight. On the 3rd morning, I sat in my car with my laptop balanced on the steering wheel, using the grocery store's Wi-Fi to search for jobs. I applied to retail positions, restaurant work, anything that might pay. I had $400 left to my name. My fuel tank was a quarter full. I was exhausted, hungry, and defeated. I was about to close my laptop when I decided to check my email one last time. Most of it was spam and automated rejections from job applications, but there was one new message that made my heart stop. Subject: Is this Angel Morrison from Berkshire? The sender was Carmen Rodriguez. I remembered her. We had been classmates during my time at the conservatory, both in the composition program. Carmen had been talented, driven, and kind. We had been friends, though I had lost touch with her after I left. I opened the email. Angel, I just saw your name in a thread on the Berkshire Alumni Forum, and it made me think of you. I have been wondering what happened to you for years. You were one of the most talented people in our class, and then you just disappeared. I am performing around Boston now, teaching part-time at New England College of Music, and doing pretty well. Would love to catch up if you are ever in the area. Carmen. I stared at the email for a long time. Then I typed a response. Carmen, I am not in Boston, but I would love to talk. Are you free for a phone call? Angel. Her response came 10 minutes later with her phone number. I called immediately. Angel Morrison, Carmen said when she answered, her voice warm and familiar. I cannot believe I finally found you. What have you been up to? I broke down and told her everything. The wedding, the smear campaign, the eviction, losing my job, sleeping in my car. I told her about my mother's systematic destruction of my life, about the lies and manipulation. I expected her to sound skeptical, to question my story like everyone else had. Instead, she said, "I am not surprised." "You are not?" I asked. "Angel, I remember when you left Berkshire," Carmen said. "The official story was that you could not handle the pressure and withdrew. But I saw your mother at the school that week. She was in the director's office for hours. A few days later, you were gone. I always wondered if she had something to do with it. Why did you not say anything?" I asked. What could I say? I was 19 years old and had no proof of anything. But I remember thinking it was strange. You were thriving at Berkshire. You were one of the best students. It did not make sense that you would just leave. Hearing someone validate my experience felt like oxygen after drowning. Carmen believed me. Carmen remembered. We talked for over an hour. She told me about her career, about performing at small venues, building a reputation slowly but steadily. She taught private lessons and occasionally performed at showcases for industry professionals. Actually, Carmen said, there is a showcase coming up in 5 days. It is at the Riverside Performing Arts Center. Industry people attend. Producers, agents, venue owners. I was supposed to perform, but I have a conflict. I got offered a last-minute gig in New York that pays really well, and I cannot turn it down. Would you want my slot? I cannot, I said automatically. I have nowhere to practice. I have not performed in years. I am a mess right now. Angel, you were brilliant at Berkshire, Carmen said firmly. I heard your original compositions. You have more talent in one hand than most people have in their entire body. You deserve this chance. And honestly, your mother cannot control what happens on that stage. It is your moment. Where would I practice? I asked. My piano is at my friend's apartment, and I do not feel comfortable going back there. Use my studio, Carmen said. I have a basement studio at my place with a piano. You can stay there, practice as much as you need. The showcase is Saturday night. That gives you 5 days to prepare. I hesitated. 5 days was not much time. I was emotionally exhausted, physically drained, and so beaten down I could barely think straight. But this was a chance. Maybe my last chance. Okay, I said. Yes, I will do it. Carmen gave me her address. I drove there immediately, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. Her house was a small bungalow in a quiet neighborhood. The basement studio was perfect, soundproofed, with good lighting and a beautiful upright piano. Carmen showed me around, gave me a key, told me to use the space whenever I needed. Thank you, I said, tears in my eyes. You have no idea what this means to me. You are going to be amazing, Carmen said. I believe in you. After she left for a rehearsal, I sat at the piano and tried to play. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hit the right keys. Fear gripped me. What if I was not good enough anymore? What if my mother was right? What if I humiliated myself at the showcase? I took a deep breath and started with scales. Simple, basic scales. Then, arpeggios. Then, a simple Bach prelude I had known since childhood. Slowly, the music steadied me. My hands remembered. My muscle memory was intact. I spent 3 days in that basement studio, barely sleeping. I practiced breaking silence until I could play it perfectly. Then I worked on a new piece, something I had been composing in my head during those dark nights in my car. I called it Rising. It was about survival, about refusing to be silenced, about fighting back when everything was stacked against you. By day 4, I was playing both pieces flawlessly. But I was still terrified. Every time I sat at the piano, I heard my mother's voice. Background music. You are not good enough. Do not embarrass us. On day 5, the day before the showcase, I tried to eat lunch but could not keep food down. My stomach was in knots. I was having a panic attack. My breath coming in short gasps. I had not had an anxiety attack like this since leaving the conservatory. I went back to the piano, forced myself to play through Rising. The music calmed me, centered me. I could do this. I had to do this. This was my last chance to prove I was not what my mother said I was. That evening, Carmen came home and found me still practicing. You are ready, she said gently. You need to rest now. Get some sleep. What if I fail? I asked. Then you fail, Carmen said with a shrug. But at least you tried. And Angel? I have heard you play for 3 days straight. You are not going to fail. I tried to sleep that night, but barely managed a few hours. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my mother's face, heard her voice, felt the weight of her expectations and contempt. At 3 a.m, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Somehow, I knew it was from someone in my family before I even looked. We know about the showcase tomorrow. You are making a mistake. Stop before you humiliate yourself. Then another text. This one from my sister Brittany, from a number I had blocked, but she must have used someone else's phone. Mom, talked to the event organizers. They know all about you. I stared at my phone, feeling sick. My mother knew. Of course she knew. She probably had contacts at the Riverside Performing Arts Center. She had probably already started poisoning the well, telling people I was unstable, unreliable, a risk. I put my phone on airplane mode and tried to sleep, but I could not shake the dread. Tomorrow was supposed to be my comeback. Instead, it felt like walking into an ambush. Saturday morning arrived gray and cold. I woke up on Carmen's couch, where I had finally fallen asleep around 5 a.m. after giving up on the bed. My whole body ached from tension. The showcase was at 7 that evening. I had 12 hours to prepare mentally for what felt like the most important performance of my life. Carmen made me breakfast. Eggs, toast, orange juice. I managed to eat half of it before my stomach rebelled. We did not talk much. She could see I was barely holding myself together. At noon, I went down to the studio and played through both pieces twice. My fingers were solid, the muscle memory intact. But I could hear the fear in my playing. The notes were right, but the emotion was guarded, protective. I needed to play with vulnerability tonight, with raw honesty. I needed to be brave enough to expose everything. At 3 o'clock, Carmen knocked on the studio door. Angel, you have visitors. My heart dropped. Who? Your mother. Your sister. And a couple other people. They are at the front door. I have not let them in. I walked upstairs, my legs feeling weak. Through the window, I could see my mother's Mercedes parked at the curb. Diane stood on the front porch with Brittany beside her. Derek, my brother-in-law, stood behind them looking uncomfortable. And there was a fourth person I did not recognize, a middle-aged woman in a business suit carrying a briefcase. I opened the door but did not step outside. Carmen stood behind me, a silent show of support. Angel, my mother said, her voice dripping with false concern. We need to talk to you. This is Dr. Sarah Brennan. She is a psychiatrist who specializes in crisis intervention. I am not talking to a psychiatrist, I said. You are making a terrible mistake, Diane said, dropping the gentle tone. If you perform tonight, you will embarrass yourself and destroy any chance you have at a real future. People already know about your problems. I have told them about your mental health issues. They are expecting you to fall apart. So you admit you have been sabotaging me, I said. I am protecting you from yourself, Diane snapped. You cannot handle this kind of pressure. You will fail, and then you will blame me, just like you always do. Brittany stepped forward. Just give up, Angel, she said. You are not cut out for this. You never were. Mom tried to let you down easy, but you would not listen. Now you are going to humiliate yourself in public. You ruined my wedding, Brittany continued, her voice rising. You stole my moment, and now you are trying to salvage your pathetic career by playing at some small showcase? It is sad. You are sad. That is enough, Derek said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at him. He had been silent until now, and his voice carried unexpected authority. What? Brittany asked, looking confused. I said that is enough, Derek repeated. He looked at me, then at Diane. I was at the wedding. I heard Angel play. She is incredibly talented, and I have watched you, Diane, systematically destroy her for daring to be good at something. Derek, Diane said warningly. No, he interrupted. I am done staying silent. My Uncle Raymond told me everything. He told me you called him and lied about Angel. You told him she was mentally ill, that she was unreliable. He believed you because why would a mother lie about her own daughter? But then he did some research. He called Berkshire Conservatory. He talked to Angel's former instructors. They all said the same thing. Angel was exceptional. She left suddenly, and they never understood why. Now they do. My heart was pounding. Raymond had investigated? He knew the truth? Raymond is going to be at the showcase tonight, Derek continued. He knows Angel is performing. He wants to hear her play again. Wants to give her the chance he should have given her at the wedding. The color drained from my mother's face. That is not true, she said. It is true, Derek said. I am here because Brittany asked me to come, but I am not here to support this intervention or whatever you want to call it. I am here to tell Angel that she should perform tonight. She should show everyone what she can do. Brittany stared at her husband in shock. You are taking her side? I am taking the side of truth, Derek said quietly. Angel, you should go tonight. Do not let them intimidate you. My mother's mask of concern had completely cracked. Her face was twisted with rage. You ungrateful child, she hissed at me. After everything I have done for you. I gave you life. I raised you. I gave you opportunities. And this is how you repay me? By turning my family against me? You destroyed my life, I said, my voice stronger now. You pulled me out of school because you could not stand seeing me succeed at something you do not control. You got me evicted. You got me fired. You told lies to everyone I know. You tried to have me committed to a psychiatric facility. You have done everything possible to break me. I was protecting you, Diane insisted. No, I said. You were protecting yourself. You could not stand that I might be talented. You could not stand that people might notice me instead of you or Brittany. You needed me to be background music because if I was anything more, it threatened your perfect family image. My mother stared at me. And for a moment I saw something flicker in her eyes. Not regret, not remorse, but fear. She was losing control, and she knew it. Fine, she said coldly. Perform tonight, but know this. When you fail, and you will fail, do not come crawling back to me. You are on your own. I have been on my own this whole time, I said, and I am still standing. Diane turned to the psychiatrist she had brought. This is clearly a waste of time. She is delusional. We should pursue involuntary commitment. Dr. Brennan had been quiet, observing the interaction. Now she spoke. Mrs. Morrison, I have been watching and listening. I do not see evidence of delusion or crisis. What I see is family conflict. I cannot support an involuntary commitment based on what I have witnessed here. My mother looked furious. Then you are useless, she snapped. She turned and stalked back to her car. Brittany followed, shooting me a look of pure hatred. Derek lingered for a moment. Good luck tonight, he said quietly. You deserve this. Then he was gone too, following his wife but clearly conflicted. Carmen closed the door and locked it. Well, she said, that was intense. I leaned against the wall, my legs shaking. My mother had tried one last time to destroy me, and it had not worked. Derek had stood up for me. Raymond knew the truth. I had a chance tonight. A real chance. But I was terrified. What if I got on that stage and froze? What if my mother's voice in my head was too loud? What if I really was not good enough? You can do this, Carmen said, reading my mind. I know you can. I spent the next 3 hours trying to calm my nerves. I took a shower, did breathing exercises, tried to meditate. Nothing worked. The fear was overwhelming. At 6 o'clock, Carmen drove me to the Riverside Performing Arts Center. It was a beautiful venue. A converted historic theater with ornate architecture and excellent acoustics. The showcase featured 12 performers. I was scheduled to go last. Backstage, I watched the other performers through a monitor. They were all talented, all polished. I felt like an imposter, like I did not belong here. I looked down at my hands and they were shaking. You are up in 5 minutes, a stagehand told me. I walked to the wings of the stage, waiting for my cue. Through the curtain gap, I could see the audience. Maybe 200 people. I spotted Raymond Hart sitting in the 3rd row, exactly where Derek said he would be. And then I saw my mother. Front row, center. She sat with Brittany beside her. both of them wearing expressions of smug anticipation. They had come to watch me fail. They had come to witness my humiliation. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Against my better judgment, I looked. Text messages from my mother. "Everyone here knows about you. I have already spoken to several people in the audience. They know you are unstable. This is your last chance to walk away." My hands started shaking worse. I could not breathe. This was a mistake. I should leave. I should run. "Angel Morrison, you are on," the stagehand said. I walked onto the stage in a daze. The spotlight was blinding. I could not see the audience clearly, which was somehow worse. I made my way to the grand piano at center stage and sat down on the bench. Silence. Complete silence. Everyone was waiting. I stared at the keys. My hands were trembling so badly I did not know if I could play. My mother's voice echoed in my head. "Background music. Not good enough. You will fail." Then I heard another voice. Carmen's voice. "You are brilliant. You deserve this." And Derek's. "You are incredibly talented." And Raymond's voice from that wedding. That was extraordinary. I took a deep breath. Then I did something I had not planned to do. I spoke. "My name is Angel," I said, my voice echoing through the theater. I was told my whole life that I was not good enough, that my music did not matter, that I should be background noise. Tonight, I am playing a piece I wrote about finding my own voice. It is called Breaking Silence. I saw my mother lean forward, her expression furious. She had not expected me to speak. She had expected me to fail quietly. I placed my hands on the keys. They were still shaking, but I pressed down anyway. The first notes rang out, clear and strong. And then something shifted inside me. The fear did not disappear, but the music became stronger than the fear. I played. I played Breaking Silence the way I had always meant it to be played. Every note carried the weight of years of suppression, of being told to be less than I was, of watching my dreams be systematically dismantled. The opening movement was dark and turbulent, full of dissonance and tension. My hands flew across the keys with a fury I had never allowed myself before. I could feel the audience leaning in, captured by the raw emotion pouring through the music. The piece built and built, the tempo increasing, the dynamics swelling until the piano seemed to thunder, then it broke. The music shattered into something delicate and haunting, a melody so fragile it felt like it might disappear entirely. This was the moment in the composition where I had written about the aftermath of breaking. When you have been beaten down so thoroughly that you are not sure you can stand back up. When the people who were supposed to love you have become your tormentors. When you are alone in the dark, wondering if maybe they were right, maybe you really are worthless. I played that devastation. I played sleeping in my car. I played the eviction notice. I played the family group chat where everyone believed the lies. I played the betrayal and the isolation and the fear. And then, slowly, the music began to transform. A new melody emerged, tentative at first, like the first rays of sunlight after a storm. It grew stronger, more confident. It was the same theme from the dark opening, but now it was in a major key. Now it sang instead of screamed. This was the moment of choosing to stand up anyway. Choosing to keep fighting even when everything was stacked against you. Choosing to be heard even when the world demanded your silence. The final movement was triumphant. Not in a simple, happy way, but in the way of survival. Of refusing to be destroyed. Of reclaiming your voice even when it shakes. The music soared, my hands dancing across the keys with absolute certainty now. No more trembling, no more fear. Just pure, unapologetic truth. I finished with a cascade of notes that seemed to ring forever in the theater's perfect acoustics, then brought my hands down in the final resolute chord. Silence. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then the audience erupted. People were standing before I even lifted my hands from the keys. The applause was deafening, echoing off the walls. I looked up, overwhelmed, and saw faces in the audience. Some were crying. Some were smiling with awe. Some were on their feet clapping so hard their hands must have hurt. I saw Raymond Hart standing in the 3rd row, his expression one of absolute recognition. He knew he was witnessing something rare. And I saw my mother. She was sitting completely still in the front row while everyone around her stood. Her face was pale, her mouth a thin line. Brittany beside her looked equally stunned. They had come to watch me fail, and instead they were watching me soar. The applause continued for what felt like forever. I stood, bowed, my legs shaking again, but this time from adrenaline rather than fear. A stagehand brought me a bouquet of flowers. People in the front rows were reaching toward the stage, wanting to acknowledge me, to connect. I walked off the stage in a daze. Backstage, Carmen grabbed me in a fierce hug. "You did it," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "You were perfect." I could not speak. I just held on to her, trying to process what had just happened. Within minutes, people started finding their way backstage. A woman in her 40s who introduced herself as the artistic director of the New England Chamber Orchestra. A man who managed a concert hall in Providence. A younger woman who ran a music festival in Vermont. They all wanted to talk, wanted to know my background, wanted to hear more of my work. And then Raymond Hart appeared. "Angel," he said, extending his hand, "I owe you an apology. Your mother contacted me after the wedding and told me things about you that I now know were lies. I should have trusted my own ears. What I heard you play tonight confirms what I heard at that wedding. You have extraordinary talent." "Thank you," I managed to say. "I would like to represent you," he said directly. "I think we can build a real career for you. Recording contracts, performance opportunities, the works. But first, I need to know, are you ready for this? Because it will not be easy. It will be work and pressure and constant scrutiny. If you are going to do this, you need to be all in." "I am ready," I said. "I have never been more ready for anything in my life." "Good," he said, smiling. "Come to my office Monday morning. We will start mapping out your future." He handed me a new business card, and this time I took it and held on to it tightly. Other industry professionals continued to approach me. I collected business cards, listened to offers, tried to stay present even though part of my brain was still reeling. Carmen stayed by my side the whole time, running interference when I got overwhelmed, making sure people gave me space to breathe. Then I saw my mother. She had made her way backstage somehow, probably using her charm and connections to talk her way past security. Brittany was not with her. Diane stood alone, and for the first time in my life, she looked uncertain. "We need to talk," she said. "No," I said simply. "We do not. Angel, I am your mother." "You stopped being my mother when you tried to destroy my life," I said. "You lied to everyone I know. You got me evicted. You cost me my job. You tried to have me committed, and you did it all because you could not stand seeing me succeed at something you did not control." "I was trying to protect you," Diane insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. "No," I said. "You were trying to control me. And when I refused to stay in the box you built for me, you tried to break me. But I am still here. I am still standing, and I am done letting you have power over my life." "You will regret this," she said, trying to summon her old authority. "I doubt it," I said. "Now please leave. You are not welcome here." "Security," Carmen called out, waving over a guard. "This woman is harassing the performer." My mother looked shocked as the security guard approached. She had never been treated like a problem before, had never been the one escorted out. As the guard led her away, she looked back at me one last time. I saw something in her expression I had never seen before. Not remorse, not love, but defeat. She knew she had lost. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. More conversations, more opportunities, more validation. By the time Carmen and I left the venue at 11 that night, I had a folder full of business cards and my phone full of new contacts. We went back to her house and I collapsed on the couch. "I am exhausted," I said. "You earned it," Carmen said, handing me a glass of water. "What you did tonight was incredible. I could not have done it without you," I said. "You gave me the chance when I had nothing." "You did the work," Carmen said. "I just opened a door. You are the one who walked through it." The next few weeks unfolded like a dream. I met with Raymond Hart and signed with his agency. He set me up with a lawyer who helped me navigate contracts and opportunities. We recorded a demo of my original compositions. Raymond sent it to his contacts in the classical music world, and the response was immediate and enthusiastic. A classical music label wanted to produce my first album. A venue in Boston offered me a solo concert. A prestigious summer music festival invited me to be a featured performer. Opportunities kept coming, one after another, each one more exciting than the last. I found a beautiful apartment I could actually afford, with good light and enough space for my piano. Carmen helped me move, and Derek surprisingly showed up to help carry furniture. He told me that he and Brittany were separated. She had refused to acknowledge what Diane had done, had doubled down on supporting our mother even when confronted with evidence of the lies. Derek said he could not stay married to someone who enabled that kind of cruelty. I felt sad for him, but not for Brittany. She had made her choices. Over the next few months, my mother tried to reach out several times. Emails, voicemails, messages through extended family. Each one claimed she had been trying to help, that she had been worried about me, that I had misunderstood her intentions. I did not respond. I had nothing to say to her. Some family members apologized once they realized the truth. My cousin Jessica called in tears, saying she was sorry she had not believed me. My Aunt Clara sent a long letter, acknowledging that she should have listened to my side of the story. I accepted their apologies but kept my distance. Trust, once broken so thoroughly, could not be easily rebuilt. Other family members never apologized. They stayed loyal to my mother, choosing to believe her narrative even when evidence contradicted it. I let them go. I built a new family of choice. Carmen, Derek, the musicians I met through Raymond, the students I started teaching at a prestigious music academy. I started therapy to work through the trauma of those months. My therapist helped me understand that what my mother had done was a form of abuse, a systematic campaign to destroy my sense of self-worth and keep me dependent. She helped me set boundaries, process grief, and learn to trust my own voice again. 6 months after the showcase, I performed my first solo concert at Symphony Hall in Boston. 2,000 people came. The concert sold out. Raymond sat in the front row, beaming with pride. Carmen was there, along with Derek and several of the musicians who had become my friends. My mother was not invited. Brittany was not invited. I performed for an audience that wanted to hear me, that celebrated my talent instead of trying to diminish it. I played Breaking Silence and Rising. I played new compositions I had written about my journey. The audience gave me 3 standing ovations. The reviews the next day called me a rising star, a voice that demanded to be heard, a talent that could not be ignored. I was no longer background music. I think about that wedding sometimes, standing in that corner behind the flower arrangements, being told to stay invisible. I think about how my mother's cruelty, intended to break me, ultimately freed me. She forced me to fight for myself in a way I had never fought before. She pushed me so far down that the only choice left was to rise. I learned that some people, even family, will try to dim your light to make themselves feel brighter. That protecting yourself from toxic people is not selfish, it is survival. That your worth is not determined by whether others choose to see it. That speaking your truth, even when your voice shakes, is the most powerful thing you can do. Most importantly, I learned that being background music was never my role. I was always meant to be the symphony. I just needed to believe it myself. Now, standing on stages across the country, playing for audiences who come specifically to hear me, I am grateful. Grateful for Carmen, who gave me a chance. Grateful for Derek, who spoke truth when it mattered. Grateful for Raymond, who gave me a second opportunity. Grateful even for my mother's cruelty, because it taught me that I am stronger than anyone ever gave me credit for. I am not background music. I never was. And I will never let anyone tell me otherwise again. As I close this chapter and look toward the future, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were meant to be more than what others expected of you? Have you ever been told to be smaller, quieter, less than you are? What did you do? Did you fight back or did you conform? I hope my story inspires you to find your voice, whatever that looks like. Whether it is music or art or business or anything else that makes you come alive. Do not let anyone convince you that your dreams are too big or that you should settle for being invisible. If this story resonated with you, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Subscribe to the channel for more stories about overcoming adversity and finding strength in difficult times. And leave a comment telling me about a time when you chose to speak up instead of staying silent. I read every comment and I would love to hear your story. Thank you for listening to mine. Thank you for being here, for witnessing this journey, for caring about what happened to me. I hope you carry something from this story with you, a reminder that you are worthy, you are talented, and you deserve to be heard. May you always have the courage to play your own song, even when the world tells you to be quiet. May you surround yourself with people who celebrate your light, instead of trying to extinguish it, and may you always remember that you were never meant to be background music. You are the symphony. Never forget that.